Hello, everyone. Thanks for joining us. This is Ben Webster at Spec Ops Software. I'm going to get things started here on our webinar on transforming your service desk with KCS and Self Service. We're very excited to have you today. And I should let you know that any slides, any statistics, any resources related to this webinar, anything that you see here, we're more than happy to share. The idea is to open up a conversation with you. So feel free to let us know if you have any questions. Our contact information will be available at the end of the call. This is Ben Webster with Spec Ops Software. I manage our enterprise sales across North America, and I'm joined by Rob Matheson. Do you want to give a quick introduction, Rob?
Yes, good afternoon, everyone. As the slide says, this is Rob Matheson, and I'm the Director of North American Business Development for ComAround.
Very good. I just wanted to, before we move on here, give an idea of why we're doing this joint webinar between ComAround and Spec Ops. You may be familiar with one of our organizations and not the other, et cetera, but we both focus on shifting away from reactive support, from a reactive service desk to a proactive, user-driven, level 0 support methodology. And really what that means is employing self-service and letting users take more control of the process of helping themselves rather than contacting the service desk. Spec Ops' focus is self-service password management, and ComAround's is knowledge center solutions. So we tend to speak to the same audience, that is organizations looking to be more proactive with their IT solutions, to increase the maturity level of their IT organization, and to shift those service desk calls away and employ that self-service. So we tend to have complementary messaging and think that this is a great opportunity for us to work together to get this message across together. So just a quick rundown of our agenda here. We're going to do a very quick about ComAround and Spec Ops, a quick introduction to our organizations. We're going to talk about some of the common needs and challenges that we address or that we commonly hear at the beginning of our conversations with organizations looking to employ self-service. We're going to talk about turning your support team into heroes. Rob's going to focus a little more on that. We're going to talk about the shift to the left with knowledge center solutions and password management. And we'll talk a little bit more about what this shift left means if you're not familiar with the concept. We'll talk about some KCS principles and metrics, and we'll also dive into a little bit of the metrics behind password management and some of the statistics and measures that we've gathered. And also do a quick snapshot of a couple of our customers, one from Spec Ops and one from ComAround, really about why they work with us and what they get out of working with us. And then at the end, we'll leave our contact information up, and if you have any questions, we'll invite you to send those to us offline, and we're more than happy to answer your questions and provide any additional resources that you're looking for. So why don't I hand things to you to introduce yourself again, Rob, and your company.
Great. Thanks, Ben. Again, ComAround is a fantastic organization. We started in Stockholm, Sweden back in the mid-90s as a computer training company when people were just starting to use maybe Windows 3.1, Windows 95. And in those days, we created knowledge in a book format. And today we've morphed to a company that has 300 plus customers. We have our headquarters in Stockholm, also an office in Oslo, Norway, and our U.S. headquarters here in the San Francisco Bay Area. We are, as Ben stated, specialists in self-service knowledge tools, and we have a whole team that actually continually updates the knowledge to make sure it's relevant to our user community. And we get a lot of help from our customers in creating content that's valuable to their organizations. This is just a picture of potentially what a portal could look like for an organization, and I'll talk a little bit more about the modules and how some of this information is configured as we go through the talk.
Great, and to introduce ourselves, Spec Ops Software, we've been around quite a while. We've been around since about 1998, and really the reason why we exist is that we took a look at some, at the time, breakthrough technology being Active Directory and group policy, some of the native Windows frameworks, and we took a look at some of the areas that could really use some enhancement, some areas that had limited functionality. In particular, our focus is desktop management and password management. So once again, providing enhanced desktop management and password management for Windows environments. And we do have over 3,000 customers. We are a global organization. We sell to over 50 countries around the world. Our headquarters is in Stockholm, Sweden, and we have our North American offices here in Philadelphia and Toronto, where I'm sitting this afternoon as well. We're highly recognized from both the Windows community and publications, third-party publications such as Windows IT Pro. We're recognized by Gartner as a desktop management and password management solution. So you can find a lot of third-party information about our solutions and how they stand up to some of our competition. And you can see some of the common types of customers that we work with across the bottom here as well, primarily in education, healthcare, the enterprise market, etc.
And again, there's a lot of needs and challenges within organizations these days, which is one of the main reasons that we feel there's a tremendous need for self-service and incorporating password management solutions with that. So the thing you think about all the time is how much money does it cost when someone says, hey, Rob, you're an expert on this. Can you help me with this particular issue that I'm having troubles with? Versus if you could deflect that call, that how-to call to a self-service knowledge tool, you can really drive down the cost of the support. And the other things that are a challenge these days are the BYOD market. Again, something we never anticipated having to deal with years ago, but again, a huge challenge within the environment. And also, people just get frustrated because they can't get the answer from the service desk, so they go out and they decide, I'm going to Google it. The problem with that, though, is you get a list of answers that are paid-for answers. And again, you can't even capture that information, those metrics within your incident management system. So it's a real challenge. There's some tremendous needs and opportunities for following a KCS-driven self-service model. Be a hero. What does that mean to people? Well, when we think about heroes, think about the service desk analysts and how their jobs can be far more enriched by becoming a hero. And how do they do that? Well, they can become knowledge contributors. They can become KCS developers, KCS contributors, and hopefully even KCS publishers. And the thing that's critical about this gamification piece of self-service is it really empowers the organization with greater knowledge across the enterprise, and it empowers your analyst to really do some great things for the company. And when you incorporate KCS with password management solutions inside your environment, according to the Consortium for Service Innovation, you potentially deflect up to 50% of those calls to a self-help service or self-service solution. And you free up your team, instead of answering those how-to, password reset, how to create a meeting in the Windows environment or an Outlook, so that they can focus on important things such as improving the knowledge across the enterprise. Again, the shift left concept is critical to our core thinking of we want to drive the cost of IT support down with knowledge management and password management solutions. And that's the beautiful part about ComAround and Spec Ops. We work together to deliver that level 0 support. I was at a meeting recently with a customer, and we were talking about our solution, ComAround 0. And finally, he made the connection. He's like, oh, yeah, ComAround 0, that means level 0 support. I'm like, exactly. So, again, we're trying to drive people towards that self-service solution with our complementary tools. Again, some of the core principles of KCS, and KCS was created back in the early 90s by the Consortium for Service Innovation to capture, structure, and reuse knowledge. And the important things about this, especially when you think about it from the service desk analyst, if they are rewarded for sharing, not keeping that information. Traditionally, they've always thought, if I keep this information to myself and don't share it with anyone, that makes me more valuable to the organization. And that is antithetical to the KCS principles of sharing, collaborating, and rewarding those people for contributing that really, really powerful content. and knowledge articles to the organization. And we do this as basically a byproduct of solving people's problems. And we want to make sure that the critical thing that we want to do, that when we're creating knowledge, is keep it in the context that the users understand. So it's very, very important that we don't write the knowledge from the perspective of IT, but that we write the knowledge from the perspective that our end user, our customer community can really leverage that knowledge and help them solve problems themselves. I won't go into too much depth about this, but again, the KCS double loop process is the solve loop and the evolve loop. And the solve loop is based on things that happen routinely every day within the organization. And that's all about structuring and capturing the knowledge, reusing it, and continually improving the knowledge. And this can be done by people that within the KCS model are developers, contributors, and KCS publishers. If you want to have a deeper conversation about the evolve loop of KCS and how to involve your management team in both IT and organizational management and how to drive KCS and self-service through the organization, I'd be happy to have that conversation with you offline. Again, this is some of the core principles of KCS, UFA, or use it, flag it, fix it, and add it. And this is just a flow chart of how article creation can occur within a tool. And if you want to go to the next slide, Ben. So again, if the knowledge is already there and it lives within your environment, go ahead and use it. Maybe create a link and send that information to someone that helps them resolve and close out their incident. If there's something not good with the knowledge, then go ahead and flag it. If you're a KCS contributor, you can fix it. And if you're a KCS publisher, you can add that content on the fly and in real time within our tool. Since ComAround Zero is a SaaS-based solution, as soon as you have that solution and everyone's agreed that this is exactly what needs to be done to fix this issue that continually evolves within the organization, post that information directly to the portal so people have access to it immediately. And that is one of the benefits of a how-to SaaS-based tool like Zero. Also, we think it's really important to make the information available within an ITSM tool. Again, a conversation we can have offline, but with ComAround Zero, you do have the ability to embed our technology right within the leading ITSM tools that are out there. And another thing that's really beneficial, if someone's really good at working with, or we've done a good job of onboarding a user as a customer of ComAround Zero, they can upload all their content from SharePoint, from file shares, from wikis, right into our tool, so that not only do they have the ability to search the pre-existing ComAround content, but also the knowledge articles that their service desk team has created within their environment now also become available within the ITSM tool, as well as the knowledge that was initially available within the ITSM tool. And we think it's really important to make knowledge easy and fun to create and use. And we can show this to you in a demo, but with ComAround Zero, you have drag and drop capabilities, very easy to create folders, to create articles, to create the content that you need to have within your environment, and it's very easy to structure it too. So we have a library of about 50 to 75,000 knowledge articles dating all the way back from Windows 3.1 to we're currently having our knowledge developers write content for Windows 10. And we don't just have content available for off-the-shelf applications like the Windows Office Suite or Adobe or all the Apple content, but we also write it for a lot of the BYOD applications and numerous applications that people need knowledge for. And we continue to update our library. As I stated earlier, we have 300 plus customers that can say, can you create knowledge for this particular application that we need the information in? So we really have a great ability to continue to add to our library, improve our library, and help customers have access to the critical applications that they need support for and they want to drive to a self-service solution. And Ben, did you want to add anything here?
Yeah, absolutely. I think you've given a great snapshot of ComAround Zero, and I think this is also a good opportunity to shift things into why we focus on password management and really how those connect. A lot of the services that I see here are things that I use in my regular everyday life. My Google account, my Dropbox account, my Skype account, etc. And one of the things that stands apart to me that I'm sure would with a lot of your users as well is that they are already used to this principle of self-service password management. So in the case where, say, they log into their Facebook, your everyday users, if they forget their password during that process, they don't expect to call Facebook, of course, and wait and get a ticket assigned to them. That process is self-driven. It is a matter of using their mobile device or using questions and answers that they've registered with or enrolled with. They use self-service today to attain a new password on a regular basis. And that's one of the things that stood out with us in a Windows environment. We took a step back and said, why is it that users cannot come into the office, employees can't take advantage of that same type of service in a corporate environment? Why aren't they used to using self-service every day when they're at work, especially when there's a cost and a time frame associated with each of these tickets, and I'll get into a little more of the statistics behind that. But that's what we try to do. Give them the kind of experience that they already expect with some of the services that they use on a day in and day out basis, but give it the look and feel of an in-house corporate solution, and let them take advantage of self-service to take control of those password management issues themselves. And that's what we focus on here, is helping users to help themselves, providing them with the tools that they can access resources no matter where they are, no matter what time of day it is, whether help desk is open or closed. Let them take advantage of self-service, whether they're on a corporate device, whether they're just on their mobile phone, whether they're just on a hotspot at a Starbucks or something. Give them that 24/7 access to any resources that they need. So what we do is we give the IT pros the control to set all of the policies and all of the procedures that are going to have to be adhered to if users want to take advantage of this self-service. So we relieve the IT pro of having that manual task, that call to the service desk saying, please reset my password, but they still maintain that control. We're not just going to have everybody lumped into the same box and say, here's how a user resets their password. The IT organization still has control of what those policies look like. These are some of the questions that we tend to ask or tend to address in the early stages of our conversations with customers. So, can your current passwords be hacked? What are the true costs of locked out users? Is it can there be an ROI that we can speak to, or is it just the time lost? Do users have too many passwords to remember? And this is something that is very common for us to address in those early stages as well. A lot of the time when folks come to us, it's because they've been doing an internal audit of their security environment. Everyone who has access to secure resources, they may have too many passwords to remember, and that drives them to take steps that actually decrease security. So sometimes in those internal security audits, we'll even hear customers say, well, our users tend to stick some of their passwords on a sticky note and put it underneath their keyboard so they can remember their 15 different passwords to their various systems. Or they tend to write it down somewhere, put it in their phone, put it into a file. And of course, these are procedures that reduce the security in an environment where you want to keep those passwords, you want to keep them secure. You want to make sure that only the users themselves know what that password is. So these are some of the things that we think about when we're taking a look at self-service password management as a way to not just reduce service desk calls, but also to increase security. And then back to you, Rob, for a little more information on KCS.
Sure. Yeah, the KCS metrics, again, the metric that I initially talked about and want to reiterate that when you employ self-service knowledge solution with password management capabilities such as SPM or Spec Ops password management within the tool, you potentially deflect 50% of those calls away from the service desk. And that really is important because when you think about your analyst and they take all those how-to questions all day long, how do I reset my password? How do I create a meeting in Outlook? How do I create a pivot table in Excel? And you can get those calls deflected to the service desk or away from the service desk to the self-service knowledge solution. You drive down the costs of IT support, but as importantly, you potentially increase the value that your service desk team members deliver to the organization because their work is no longer nearly as redundant. They're not doing the same repetitive tasks over and over again. They're potentially getting the opportunity to work in new areas, such as creating knowledge, which is valuable for the organization. And you may actually help them increase their confidence because maybe you set them up initially as a KCS candidate. But how about that day comes along when you license an analyst to approve or publish knowledge without the review of his peers? They become a publisher. That enhances their confidence, enhances their wealth of knowledge, and also enhances what they bring to the organization, which ultimately leads to tremendous amount in improved rate up to 35% of employee retention. And also, if you can improve the employee satisfaction by 20 to 40%, and you're not turning over your good analysts because they're creating this great knowledge and they're much more satisfied with what they're doing for the organization, everyone wins. So KCS, there's a real business case for moving to a self-service model when you think about what you can do. And just a true case, customer case from us. We have a large bank that's been a customer of ours for more than 15 years, approximately 16,000 employees across the enterprise, and they've had this goal of shifting left with our tool, deflect over 200,000 issues from first-line support, and you can see how much money that saves just this one customer of ours. So again, the business case for employing a self-service knowledge solution and incorporating password management into the tool, I think it's compelling, and we'd love to help you make that case. This is just an example of a portal from a customer, and again, you can configure the modules or the navigation bar with whatever information you want. I think that's kind of important here. For example, if you're going to have a new release coming out on a Monday, and you know there's going to be a spike in calls to the service desk, you could actually create those articles that are important, put them in recommended or in news. So when people come to the self-service portal, they may look at that information, click on the link to the article, and go, oh, I don't need to call the service desk. I've now been able to resolve this issue. And again, what does this mean? Deflecting those calls, driving down the cost of support, and allowing your analysts to focus on the more complex, interesting, and rewarding pieces of IT support. These are some of the metrics that we can capture within the tool. I won't take a deep dive into all this, but we'll talk a little bit about it. We can search on what people are querying, whether they're finding hits to their searches. If they're not, we can add some metadata within an article, or you can create articles on the fly, again, since it's a SaaS-based tool, and publish that content immediately once you've completed the article and it's been verified for quality. Make it available to your users and resolve the issues. Again, based on what's happening within the environment, we can see that at times there may be a spike in calls. Maybe, again, it's due to a product release or just a change within the environment. And you're able to track those metrics very, very easily within ComAround Zero. Earlier, we talked a little bit about the gamification piece of Zero, and this is a new area that we've added, heroes, to the statistics within our tool. And this allows you to see who's creating knowledge, how much of the knowledge is being viewed. For example, you can see the top producer here created almost 1,600 guides or knowledge articles that were viewed over 51,000 times within the environment last year. Just a huge ROI on that. And you can see that as you go down the list, that maybe certain people on the service desk need some help from a KCS coach with writing better knowledge, or maybe they really don't belong on the service desk if they're not contributing the type of knowledge that you want the organization. So this is a really great way to reward people and also help people improve their knowledge creation capabilities with this hero statistic when you really start to track this metric within the organization.
And speaking of metrics, this is just a quick overview of why we do what we do. When we take a look at self-service password management, or our customers do, often they rely on our expertise to help them to build a business case. So that's why we've learned everything we can about the statistics behind self-service password management. And one of those things is obviously this comes up very often. How does it help us to reduce costs? So the average IT service desk call costs about $18. That means that strictly from a cost perspective, if we can reduce 40% of the total contact volume for your IT service desk through reducing the number of password-related service desk calls, this is obviously something that can have a huge payout for larger organizations or even smaller organizations. And it's not just the costs that we take a look at. It's also making sure that you're using your IT resources in the best way that you can. That if we reduce the number of password-related help desk calls by 70%, that means reducing the amount of time that they spend on these mundane tasks, being able to bolster their confidence in what they're doing because they're not having to go into Active Directory and right-click a user account and reset a password. It's a process that is meant to be self-serviced. So if you can release them from having to monitor simple tasks like that, what else can they be used for? How can they be used for more proactive, more mature IT projects and mission-critical objectives that you're looking for? And some other general benefits are being able to improve the mindset or the level of productivity of your everyday users, taking them away from having to sit in a queue and wait for a ticket to be assigned. And also, it does increase their password security. I mentioned some users will tend to even write down complex passwords and stick them somewhere if they have to remember multiple passwords. But this also, if you have the proper feedback in a self-service password management solution, you'll be able to give them all the tools that they need to have a password that they will remember, whether it's a password or a passphrase, but something that means something to them, and not have to worry about remembering which complexity characters they need to put in which places. And I'll show you a little bit more about how we make that a more seamless and engaging process for users as well. And our source here is Gartner, all of these statistics, the cost of each help desk call, and even the measures of how what percentage of these types of calls that you can decrease by using self-service password management. All of this is from third-party publications with Gartner. And this is just a sample customer case of ours. This is coming from one of the largest U.S. utility companies, and this is actually a case study that you can get from our website, or I'd be happy to provide to you if you reach out to me. But this is a customer that's using Spec Ops password management, and they initially their big goal was to just reduce the high cost associated with users calling into the service desk and having to take those calls from the service desk, having to go in, as I mentioned, around $18 per call is the valuation that they came up with as well. So the result is really that they've achieved 100% success with their user adoption of this process. And they've actually reduced their number of service desk calls associated with password management by 98%. And how we do that, it's important for me to note, first of all, that enrollment success that you see there, that doesn't come on its own. If you encourage users to leverage a tool like this, you will not see enrollment success as high as 100%. That's only done through enforcement, sadly. Users tend to ignore a few things that IT tells them to do from time to time. So what we do is we focus on not just encouragement, but enforcement of their interaction with this type of product, but do it in a way that still has the look and feel of an in-house solution and is a natural part of their day-to-day lives, interacting with self-service in a way that is much easier for them than having to call into the service desk and wait for that to be reset. And this particular customer has notified us they've achieved over $600,000 in annual cost savings, and that's strictly by reducing the number of service desk calls associated with password management, of course with the added benefits of increased user satisfaction and increased uptime for their users, being able to access resources as they need them. So as I mentioned, it is important to have 24/7 access for users who need to access resources, to be able to do that without having to call somebody, but also without having to worry about the hours of service desk or looking up a number that they need to call into to have that their locked account or their forgotten password dealt with. And we do that by allowing users to access this tremendous resource from anywhere they are. So whether that's just on a mobile device, where we provide mobile apps for Android devices, iOS, or Windows devices, whether it's just through a web portal that you have today where users will access resources, or whether it's right on their login screen, as you see here, being able to provide them with an upfront way to get in, reset their password, unlock their account, and get back to work. And you can truly rest easy with having one secure password that you use across all of your systems. The way we do this is actually by intercepting any password change as it happens and relaying it to other systems, other corporate systems or web applications, any other systems that require authentication today. We leverage a synchronized password system that allows users to remember fewer passwords. Of course, that also means you can increase security because you can control more with those passwords in those other systems than you can out of the box today. So even things like enforcing a 90-day password change or 60-day password change. If you enforce that in Windows today, that will automatically occur as a password change in those other systems as well when it's synchronized to those other systems. So being able to increase security, but also reduce the complexity of a password-bound organization for end users is just an added benefit all over. And as I mentioned, we like to think of enrollment or registration in this type of a self-service password management system as something that's enforceable. So we do have customers who will leverage just emails that encourage users to enroll or register in this system. And as you can see with the reporting that we provide kind of baked into this solution, you can take a look at that and say, okay, 60% of my users have enrolled purely relying on good faith, sending them emails, providing helpful little reminders for them to enroll. But if that's not enough, if you want to really get to the top level, if you want to enforce 100% enrollment across your environment, we provide the tools for that as well. So IT really does hold all the cards here, and you can take advantage of some a little more intrusive methods to make sure that users will enroll. And the statistics that you see on the right here are really what we see as our customers' primary metrics for their return on investment. And that is how many of our users are resetting their own passwords versus calling into the help desk. And as you see in the far bottom right here, this is an annual basis of taking a look at when users tend to call into the help desk the most, or when they need to interact with self-service the most. And this is from one of our education customers. So you'll see that at the end of August, beginning of September, they commonly see a spike in their service desk calls related to password management. And this is something they had tracked for years and years. After implementing Spec Ops password reset or Spec Ops password management, they took a look at this same snapshot here. And as you can see, these users are changing their own passwords or resetting their own passwords. So when they come back from that summer break, or when they come back after the December holidays, they don't see that spike in service desk calls anymore. So it means they don't have to worry about treating this like a project and having to beef up their service desk with additional staff just to be able to take care of these mundane calls related to password management. And this is one resource that I highly suggest you all take a look at. This is what we call Spec Ops' Self-Service Success Center. And you'll see the URL at the top here. And this is not bound to a specific solution. Spec Ops password management, of course, is our suggested solution, but this applies to everything across the board. This is a way to make sure that your self-service password management whatever your chosen solution is, that you get the most out of it. So it's really everything from implementation to awareness to increasing the level of success. So it's how to engage your users, how do we get internal marketing on the same page as our IT folks who are setting the policies, and really making sure everyone's on board, that users are brought up to speed, and that you present this to them in a way that's logical and simple for them to leverage. And as I mentioned at the start of the call, we are going to, of course, encourage you to ask any questions that you have, and we'd be happy to provide any answers that you're seeking. If you'd like to get your hands on some of the resources or some of the metrics that you've seen here, or even a copy of the slide deck that we've presented here, please feel free to send a quick email to myself, Ben at Spec Ops, or Rob at ComAround, or give us a quick call. One thing I will say is we commonly do provide a free analysis to some of the folks that we're speaking to early on, just to get an idea of what self-service knowledge and what self-service password management can provide in terms of analyzing the service desk, what their practices are, whether a business case even exists to implement self-service solutions. That's something that both ComAround and Spec Ops are passionate about. We are experts in these fields, so we can give you a solid idea of whether a business case can be built around self-service. Of course, in most cases, the answer is yes, but we're happy to provide the proof in the pudding, as they say. And we also do both offer free, fully supported trial installations of our products as well. So if you'd like to set up a quick trial in your environment, if you'd just like to see an initial live demonstration of how this works and engage any stakeholders in your organizations and have them take a quick peek at how these solutions work and what they might look like in your environment, we're more than happy to set that up with you. Feel free to reach out to us. We welcome your feedback. And of course, we would value the opportunity to meet with you and talk a little bit more about self-service, how it would affect your environment as well. So thank you very much for joining us. Rob, any last words here before we end?
No, I basically going to say I concur exactly what you're saying. I'm glad to have a discussion with anyone about a beta test or a trial, a free trial. We do offer a free trial initially with ComAround Zero, and would love to have a conversation with anyone who's interested in having that conversation or discussion.
And feel free to engage us both. If you're as passionate about self-service as we are, obviously the left hand and the right hand can work together here. Self-service knowledge is certainly complementary to self-service password management. We do work hand in hand, and Rob and I work well together. So we'd be more than happy to set up a discussion between your organization and both of us as well, to really get an understanding of what your environment and what your service desk practices are, and help you to get a semblance of what that business case would look like in your environment as well. So thank you once again. Feel free to reach out to us, and we really appreciate your time and your attention. Have a great day, and we will talk to you soon.